Greetings, seekers, those who heed the voice of truth through the noise of the material world. Have you ever wondered why, on opposite ends of our planet, separated by oceans and millennia, the same majestic monuments rise, and at the core of all ancient religions lie identical philosophical concepts? We are accustomed to viewing history as linear, believing that humanity slowly climbed from caves to the heights of progress. But what if our past is not a path upward, but a long, painful fall from a height we can scarcely imagine today? Welcome to the realm of forbidden knowledge. Today we dive into the abyss of time to seek the roots of what the Greeks called Atlantis, and what esotericists call the cradle of divine wisdom. The ocean keeps its silence, yet its rhythm is the heartbeat of the planet. Remembering the times before the Great Flood, Plato, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, was not merely retelling legends. He was conveying a coded message received from Egyptian priests 9,000 years before his time. Such was the date of the disappearance of an empire whose power surpassed human understanding. But Atlantis was not merely an island or a state. It was a state of consciousness, a point of contact between the world of gods and the world of men, where matter was obedient to the will, and the spirit knew no shackles of the flesh. Where did the knowledge come from that allowed the ancients to erect pyramids with astronomical precision and work granite as if it were butter? Mainstream science shrugs its shoulders, citing slave labor and primitive tools, but those who can read between the lines know this was a legacy. The legacy of a civilization that understood the laws of the universe not through microscopes, but through direct apprehension of reality. This knowledge was not gained through trial and error. It was passed down by those we call the elder brothers or teacher gods. At the center of this mystical transmission stands a figure shrouded in the mists of ages, Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice greatest. To the Egyptians, he was Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing; to the Greeks, the messenger of the gods. But in the esoteric tradition, Hermes is not a person, but the title of the High Hierophant of Atlantis, who saved the sacred archives before the waves swallowed his homeland. It was he who brought to the Nile Valley what would later be called Hermeticism, the core of all the secret teachings of humanity, encoded in symbols and myths. The primary artifact of this knowledge is the Emerald Tablet, a mysterious object upon which, according to legend, the foundations of the universe were inscribed. That which is below is like that which is above. These words became the foundation of all alchemy and magic. But what do they mean in the context of the Atlanteans? It was a technology for controlling reality through an understanding of the unity of the macrocosm and the microcosm. The Atlanteans did not fight nature. They resonated with it, using the very fabric of existence as a tool of creation. The ancient manuscript, the Kybalion, published at the beginning of the 20th century, asserts that all Atlantean knowledge was based on 7 great principles. These principles are not merely philosophy, they are the physics of higher dimensions that we are only beginning to rediscover. The first and most important of them is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. For the Atlanteans, this was no abstraction but a daily practice. They knew that matter is but condensed thought, and he who masters his own mind gains the keys to the doors of the physical world. Imagine cities built not of stone but of intention. The temples of Atlantis were erected using sound vibrations that altered the density of matter. The principle of mentalism allowed the priest architects to hold complex geometric forms in their consciousness, which then materialized in space. It was an era when the word carried weight and thought took form. The knowledge that the universe is conscious allowed the Atlanteans to communicate with the planet as a living being, drawing energy directly from the ether. The second principle is the principle of correspondence or analogy. As above, so below; as below, so above. This is the key to understanding why the layouts of ancient cities and temples precisely mirror the map of the starry sky. The Atlanteans saw in the human body a reflection of the entire universe. Every organ, every cell corresponded to a planet or a constellation. By understanding this correspondence, they could heal diseases by harmonizing internal rhythms with cosmic ones, and draw power from distant star systems they considered their spiritual ancestral homes. The third principle is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Modern quantum physics is only now approaching the realization that at the heart of matter lie the oscillations of strings. The Atlanteans, however, used this knowledge to move immense masses and alter the properties of metals. Their technologies were based on resonance. They knew the frequency of stone, the frequency of water, and the frequency of the human soul. Music in Atlantis was not entertainment but a sacred instrument for tuning reality, capable of summoning rain or raising walls. The fourth principle is the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles. In the golden age of Atlantis, people understood that good and evil, light and darkness were merely two sides of the same coin, differing only in their degree of manifestation. This knowledge granted them incredible tolerance and wisdom. They did not fight the shadow, they sought equilibrium. But it was this very principle that became their trial. When the balance between the spiritual and the material began to shift, polarity transformed into opposition, which ultimately tore apart the fabric of their civilization. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out, everything has its tides. The Atlanteans were great astrologers and chronicrators. They knew the cycles of the great year, a period of 25,920 years during which the sun traverses all signs of the zodiac. They understood that every flourishing is inevitably followed by decline. Aware of the approaching dark age, they began preparing time capsules, encrypting their knowledge in myths, symbols, and megalithic structures that could survive millennia of oblivion. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Nothing happens by chance. The demise of Atlantis was not a whim of the gods or a random natural disaster. It was a consequence of violating cosmic law. The use of psychic energy for selfish purposes, attempts at genetic experimentation, and the manipulation of natural forces without due responsibility created a karmic debt that could only be repaid through purification by water. The seventh principle is the principle of gender. Gender manifests in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. The Atlanteans revered divine androgyny. In their society, the creative energy of the masculine and the intuitive wisdom of the feminine existed in perfect union. Great magical operations were performed by pairs, uniting will and imagination. The loss of this unity, the elevation of one principle over the other, led to a degradation of consciousness and a loss of connection with the source, marking the beginning of the end for the great empire. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes states, "You shall separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, with great sagacity and art." This describes the process of transmutation not only of metals but of the human being itself. The Atlanteans possessed the knowledge of how to transform a mortal human into a radiant deity. Their science of immortality was based on the purification of the light body. But over time, this knowledge became the possession of a select few, transforming into an instrument of power. Hierarchy gave way to tyranny, and the subtle world ceased to nourish coarse matter. Many wonder, where exactly was Atlantis located? But for the initiated, this question is secondary. Atlantis is the Atlantic Ridge, it is Antarctica, it is the Caribbean shelves. It was a global network, but its most important dwelling place is within our genetic memory. The knowledge of the ancients did not vanish, it went underground. After the catastrophe, the surviving adepts, guided by Thoth Hermes, journeyed to different corners of the world. Kemet, the ancient name for Egypt, became the primary repository of these secrets. It is there, beneath the paws of the Sphinx, according to the prophecies of Edgar Cayce, that the Hall of Records awaits its hour.
The Egyptian pyramids are not tombs for pharaohs, but resonant devices built according to Atlantean blueprints. They are the stone embodiments of the 7 principles of Hermeticism. Every proportion, every angle of inclination, is a mathematical formula describing the laws of the universe. Those who entered the Great Pyramid for initiation underwent an experience of death and rebirth, restoring their connection to antediluvian wisdom. The golden ratio, the number pi, and the constants of the Earth's axial precession were known to them long before their official discovery. But why have we forgotten? Why has humanity plunged into a long sleep of materialism? The answer lies within the principle of rhythm itself. We were passing through the Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, when the planet's vibrations were too coarse to perceive subtle truths. Knowledge became forbidden because, in the hands of the ignorant, it turns into a weapon of self-destruction. Hermetic orders, medieval alchemists, Rosicrucians, and Freemasons, they were all merely guardians of the shards of that great mirror of truth, shattered during the fall of Atlantis. Today we live in an era of great transition. The rhythm is changing once more. The Earth's vibrations are rising, and that which was hidden is beginning to emerge through the veil of Isis. Quantum mechanics, which studies the observer's influence on reality, is nothing less than a modern reading of the principle of mentalism. The theory of a holographic universe confirms the principle of correspondence. We are returning to our origins, but on a new turn of the spiral. The knowledge of the Atlanteans returns to us not through archaeological finds, but through the awakening of our inner memory. Let those who listen hear. Atlantis is not only the past, it is our potential future. We stand at the same crossroads as our ancestors thousands of years ago. We possess technologies capable of both saving and destroying the planet. We have access to information, but do we have enough wisdom? The 7 Hermetic principles are not merely ancient texts. They are an operating manual for human consciousness. Without self-mastery, we are doomed to repeat the cycle of catastrophes. Hermes Trismegistus said that the mind is a gift from the gods, given to man so that he might know the Creator and himself. The entire history of Atlantis is a lesson in what happens when intellect outpaces ethics. When we seek forbidden knowledge, we must remember the purity of intent. True alchemy is not the turning of lead into gold for enrichment, but the transmutation of fear into love, and ignorance into awareness. This is the great work taught in the mystery schools of Poseidonese. Look at the world around you through the prism of the 7 principles. Do you see a strict rhythm behind the chaos of events? Do you feel how your thoughts resonate with your environment? Do you understand that every action you take is a cause that generates an inevitable effect? In this awareness, freedom is born. The Atlanteans were free as long as they followed the law. They became slaves when they decided they were above it. We are their heirs, carrying in our DNA both their greatness and their mistakes. Somewhere in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean lie ruins of crystal and gold, buried by the silt of ages. But the light of these crystals still reaches us through dreams and intuitive insights. When you feel an inexplicable longing for a golden age, or when ancient symbols make your heart beat faster, that is your blood speaking. It is the voice of Atlantis, reminding you of who you truly are. You are not random passersby in this universe. You are eternal sparks of divine fire, temporarily clothed in the garments of flesh. The Kybalion teaches us that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. If you hear these words, then your time has come. Knowledge ceases to be forbidden for the one who is ready to take responsibility for it. We invite you to continue this journey with us. Ahead lie many mysteries waiting to be revealed. We will explore forgotten technologies, hidden chronicles, and the metaphysical laws that govern our destiny. Let the silence of this moment become a space of revelation for you. Peer into the abyss of the past to see within it the reflection of the future. The 7 principles are a bridge across the ocean of oblivion.
Step upon it with an open heart and a clear mind. Remember, the universe is mind, and you are an integral part of it. The truth has always been near. It was only waiting for your awakening. Thank you for contemplating this truth with me. If your heart resonated with the vibrations of ancient wisdom, join our circle of forbidden knowledge. Subscribe so you don't miss our next immersions into the mysteries of existence. In our next video, we will journey to the snowy wastes of Antarctica to discover what the ice sheet hides and why world leaders so often visit this silent continent. Is it the key to the final days of Atlantis? The answers are near. Until we meet again in the flow of eternal knowledge.